Hi, in this video we'll be converting mixed numbers to improper fractions and improper fractions to mixed numbers. But before we start, I do want to talk about what each one is and why it's important to be able to convert from one to the other. All right, so an improper fraction, an example of an improper fraction is 7 over 5, and I'll tell you why. All right, 7 over 5 is an improper fraction because the numerator right here is bigger than the denominator. So any fraction in which the numerator is bigger than the denominator is improper. Now the word improper makes it sound like it's bad or it's not good to work with or we do not like it. Not the case. Improper fractions are wonderful to work with, and sometimes it's better than a mixed number, but we cannot really see that value as well as we can see the value of a mixed number, and I'll show you what I mean. All right, so a mixed number, an example of a mixed number is 1 and 2/7. It's mixed because we have two parts to it. We have the whole number part and we have the proper fraction part. So when I said that we can see the value of a mixed number, we can see easily, quick glance, that this number is slightly more than 1. Whereas in this number, we cannot see that as quickly. So for that reason, a lot of people like their answers to be as a mixed number rather than an improper fraction. However, an improper fraction is often easier to work with than a mixed number. So many times you'll get a question. The question will be, as a mixed number, you have to change it to an improper fraction to work with it. But at the very end, you'd be expected to switch it back to a mixed number. And that's why we have to go over how to convert mixed numbers to improper fractions. So let's begin. Okay, so now we're going to convert 5 3/4 into an improper fraction. And in order to convert 5 3/4 into an improper fraction, it's really just 2 steps. But I don't want to just say step 1, step 2. I want you to understand the reason behind each step. So we want this as a fraction, and since the denominator is 4, that is going to be the denominator of our answer. So we can already put down that our answer will have a denominator of 4. All right, so when you see 5 3/4, it's important to understand that this number is actually 5 plus 3/4. It's not 5 times 3/4, it's 5 plus 3/4. Now, in order to figure out how many fourths 5 is, we just have to multiply that 5 by 4. So 5 is actually 20/4. And you can check it out, right? 20 divided by 4 is 5. 5 is 20/4. So we have here 20/4. That's the 5 part of that fraction plus 3/4. And so we get 23/4. So 5 3/4 is 23/4. You may have seen this before. Someone may have taught this to you before using the following 2 steps, which I will also show you. People just show that, multiply, and add that. So you multiply the 5 by 4 and add the 3 in order to get 23/4. I've done the same thing. These 2 things are the same. But on the left side of the page, I wanted you to see why those 2 steps work. All right, let's try one more before we move in the other direction. And I'm just going to use that shortcut with the multiply and add just to make you comfortable. All right, so if we were converting, for example, converting 2 and 5/6 to an improper fraction, you could just multiply those 2 things and then add that. So 6 times 2 is 12. 12 plus 5 is 17. So you get 17/6. So we multiplied these 2 to get 12 and then added the 5 to get 17. All right, So now that you know how to change an improper fraction, sorry, a mixed number to an improper fraction, let's go the other direction. Okay, so now we are ready to convert an improper fraction back to a mixed number. So oftentimes you will see a question, you work it out, you'll get an answer as an improper fraction, and you have to then convert it back to a mixed number to give your final answer. Here is how. All right, so recognizing that division, that fraction bar means division, we have to divide 13 by 5. So we set up a long division here to divide 13 by 5. Let's actually write that out in this way. 13 by 5, and remember that when we're dividing 13 by 5, we actually crisscross how the numbers go in the division. All right, so the 13 would go over here, the 5 goes over here. But let's do it on the right side of the page. So 5 into 13. How many times does 5 go into 13? Well, 5 goes into 13 twice, but there is a remainder. In order to figure out what that remainder is, we have to multiply by 5 by 2 to get 10. And so we realize that 3 is the remainder. All right, before I keep going with this and tell you what to do with it, let's look at a few vocabulary things. Or quotient is the answer here. What is left is called the remainder. And the number over here, the number at the bottom of the fraction, is called the divisor. The divisor was at the bottom of the fraction initially, and it will continue to be at the bottom of the fraction. The whole number part of our answer is the quotient. So that 2 is the whole number part of our answer. The divisor initially was the denominator, and it will continue to be the denominator, and the remainder goes here. All right, so to recap, when we did our long division, we had to figure out what the remainder was. The remainder goes on top of the fraction. The divisor remains at the bottom of the fraction, and our answer, the quotient, is a whole number part of our mixed number. And if you're not sure and you want to test it out, you want to check out, make sure you got it right, then you can check by doing what we did before and converting it back to an improper fraction and making sure that you get the question. So multiply and add. All right, so if we do that, 5 times 2, and again, this is just a check. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 plus 3 is, in fact, 13. And our denominator was 5. That was what the question originally had. So we know we're right. And our answer is, in fact, 2 and 3 over 5. All right.